Hello Mzansi, you are listening to Farmers Inside Track, proudly brought to you by Food for Mzansi. My name is Patricia Tembo, your host, and welcome to today's episode. Our farmer mentor today is Zen Teitge, who is the CEO of Manger Care Centre. Join us as he shares how he's been able to merge community development with agriculture through this organization. Zen Teitge, welcome to Farmers Inside Track. On today's Farmer Mentor episode, we are so excited and grateful to have you and the time that you've taken to join us on today's podcast.
Thank you very much. Really looking forward to it. It's a great honor to be on the podcast, so much appreciated.
Amazing. So Zen, I was just briefly chatting to you before we started recording, and you are a social agricultural entrepreneur, but you are also the CEO of Manger Care Centre, which is a NPO nonprofit organization focused on community development. And I believe there's a lot of work that you're doing, which you'll probably get into and you'll let us know. But one of the main avenues of that is through farming, through agriculture. You probably have so much to share with our listeners and with myself as we get into the conversation. But maybe start us off right at the beginning. How did Manger Care Centre begin? Where did it start? I know you mentioned it's a family organization and you're second generation, but maybe talk us through the beginning and how it has unfolded to where you are currently.
Yeah, so Manger Care Centre was basically started about 40 years ago. So the organization was started by my father. He was a drug addict, alcoholic, and found himself basically homeless, didn't have anywhere to go or any people to assist and to help him. And he changed his life around. He gave his life to the Lord and he said, you know what, he wants to start and help people with the same scenarios that he was going through. So we started off with one guy staying in the backyard in a caravan, and from there the organization was formally started. In the beginning, we used to go around looking for people and to assist people and take people off the street, give them a place to stay, and look at assisting them and reintegrating them back into society. So he passed away a few years after that, and the legacy has continued with my mother and with myself and some of my siblings. So my sister also used to be involved in the organization. But yeah, my brother and sister have immigrated to New Zealand a few years ago. And from there, we carry on and we work with the organization. So we're continuing with his legacy. We basically just carrying on with the organization and growing it into one of the biggest homeless shelters, I'd say, in Ekurhuleni. So we're quite a large organization with the work that we do.
That is so beautiful how your father transformed the experience that he had into something that would support and help other people. And that's something you have continued on. You've continued that legacy. But to get more into the organization and what exactly does community development is at the center of it. But how is this Manger Care Centre equipping people who are brought into the organization? What are the activities?
In a nutshell, a person would come to the organization, literally the clothes that they've got on, and we would then start working with that person. So if a person comes in, they see our social worker, social auxiliary worker, as well as the nurse. And then we draw up what we call a personal development plan or a PDP. And then we start with the reintegration of that person. So we've got a 6-month cycle that we work through. We provide spiritual counseling, psychosocial support. We've got various different workplace initiatives within the organization. We are accredited with AgriCETA, so we provide them with accredited training, which is plant production, NKF 1 to NKF 4, as well as animal production, NKF 1 to NKF 4. We do some life skills training. We've got end-user computer training. And then we've also got self-sustainability projects within the organization. And some of those we've decided as an organization to focus on the agricultural space because it is something that I enjoy. And it's also something that I see that is really needed within South Africa. From that side, we then basically do turnkey agricultural projects, which is farming and setting up farms. So we build, manufacture and install greenhouse tunnels. We do shade net structures. We ourselves are a commercial seedling production farm. So our current capacity is about 2.2 million seedlings every 6 weeks. And each person that comes in, we want to take that person, put them into one of those different projects, They learn how to work on those projects, and hopefully when they go out, either look for a job space within the same field, or if they carry on working within the organization, or alternatively, it would be for that person to work at a different farm or different infrastructure, in the agricultural space. So we also have programs where we work with companies in the outside that actually come and employ people from the organization and, just basically give them a second chance and give them some employment as well. On average, we look after about 350 people on a daily basis, and we've got about 5,200 beneficiaries coming through the organization on an annual basis. So at any given time, we've got close to about 90 people that will be employed by people from the outside. So we just try to give a person a second chance and sort of bridge that gap for a person to have a chance at, getting back on their feet. And we make use of that through the different agricultural programs that we offer.
So amazing. Agriculture meets community development. I think agriculture, it's a science, and it's also for a lot of people, it is a business, but it is also a community. Agriculture does not exist outside of community. It's just a part of what agriculture is. Hearing how the Manger Care Centre, really integrates the two, and people who are needing a second chance, like you say, it's so beautiful because you equip them and you upskill people so they end up leaving with more than they had before when they had joined the organization. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear a bit more about the accredited training then that you're doing about AgriCETA. What does that look like for the individuals who do come to the organization?
What we do is we run skills programs as well as full qualification training. So skills programs would be either 1-week courses, whereas full qualification would be a course for a full year. And those are some of the different training aspects when it comes to the accredited training. So we focus on various different unit standards within the qualification, like fertilizing your crops, looking at soil health and fertility, marketing your crops, the business aspects that goes around with that, tying it up to a market and being successful and actually selling your crops properly. We also look at the seedling growing, as that is one of our strong points within the organizations, doing the commercial seedling growing. We also look at all of the different dynamics, when it comes to agriculture, and to make a person marketable when they're going outside and actually looking for work. So we also then utilize our current workspace that we've got within the organization, and we've got various different contexts of planting. We do mainly outdoors. We've got about 5 hectares that we plant in cabbages and spinach and beetroot. And then we also do intensive farming in greenhouses. So we use a combination of various different methodologies, and we incorporate that with the training aspects that we give to people. So we want somebody to come through the organization. They need to be diversified. And when they do go out, then they'll have various different concepts of planting and, again, be marketable within the market, because we need more farmers within South Africa. We just do not have enough farmers. And even now, if we're looking at, the rising costs of diesel and the fertilizers and things like that, we need to look at more at some of those subsistence farmers and actually taking those subsistence farmers to become commercial farmers. And that's where I think we do a vital role within our organization with what we are doing. And like you say, we need to network and we need to build on those communities that we've currently got. So that's what we do from the training perspective.
The training sounds quite comprehensive as well. That's amazing to hear. And I'm trying to imagine what it looks like practically. I mean, you mentioned the programs are focus on intensive farming in greenhouses. How is this something that you have practically achieved in terms of the infrastructure, the land for the Manger Care Centre is able to operate on to host and upskill people who come in? How did that all happen? What does that currently look like as well?
Currently, we've got 4 properties that we're utilizing, that we own, and then there is 2 other projects, another one which we're in the process of buying, and then one that we've got a joint venture agreement with another farm. With regards to that, is we started small in the agricultural space. So basically, with my journey in agriculture, the first time that I started planting was we started with a small 3 meter by 12 meter greenhouse, a little shade net structure put up on the plot. And from there, I was like, this is what I want to do. I love agriculture. I just have a knack for it, and this is what I want to do. I love the work that we're doing, but we need to look at combining that. And, started with We had a property which was 2 hectares with open land. And I said, let's put that tunnel up. From there, we put up another greenhouse. And, after a while, we sat with about 16 of those small little greenhouses. And then I was like, okay, well, let's put up a 10 by 30 meter tunnel. Let's put up another one. After that, we had 4 10 by 30 meter tunnels. We then put up a half-hectare shade net structure where we were working with the National Development Agency. And then we started going into the commercial space. So from there, we had about 1.5 hectare under production, doing a combination of hydroponics and planting spinach. So from there, our crops we're selling to Pick and Pay. And from that, again, it was like, you know what, we've done this now, we need to expand. And then we started with the seedling production and actually doing more volumes of seedlings back into the commercial space and just capitalized on that. So currently we've got, to our availability, we've got about 6 hectares that we're planting to look at planting chilies, of which 2 is currently under production, and then to increase that capacity to about 20 hectares. Then with the farm in Babsfontein, we've got 10.2 hectares. And from that, we've got facilities or arable land of about 5 hectares that we currently under production on there. Then our head office property, we've got 2 hectares that we are also utilizing for the seedling project, as well as our training center. We've got some chickens, we've got some pigs, we've got some sheep, we've got another premises in Pretoria West, in Uitzicht. That's how we've got 8 hectares. And on that 8 hectares, we're basically doing sheep, cattle, also some chickens, and then intensive farming inside the greenhouse. So that's sort of our land availability that we've currently got. And again, we also look at partnering with a lot of different farmers. And because we're doing turnkey agricultural projects, we actually go to site and set up farms. So we've been all over South Africa, and we've built farms, all over South Africa, and set up different projects from a turnkey perspective. So that's sort of what we've got to our availability at the current moment.
So the organization is based in Gauteng, but you mentioned that they set up farms nationally.
That's correct, yeah.
I'm curious to know if you can share any success stories from anyone who has come into the center, and has gone through the training programs and has been able to multiply that skill that they have acquired through the program.
I'll just maybe speak about one guy. His name is Immaculatius. So he's a emerging farmer based in Etwatwa. This person also, he's got a love for agriculture. He was a young gentleman. We had a training session. We had a project that we were doing with the National Lotteries Commission, as well as the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and COCTA. Based in Etwatwa, we were setting up 500 food gardens. And then from there, we were shortlisting some of the beneficiaries that we could look at upscaling their projects and actually to becoming semi-commercial farmers. So from those farmers, Immaculatius was one of the guys that really, really, really stood out. He was a small-scale farmer, was planting maybe about a quarter hectare, not even a quarter hectare. He came to our training session, and again, we looked at him, we looked at how he was planting and his dynamics and his capability. And then from there, we decided, you know what, let's look at getting some investment for him. And he assisted him. We installed the bore. We put all of our tractors and things in on his site. We ripped, we plowed, we rotavated, we did everything that was needed. We set up a small little pack house shed for him. He went through the training program, and till today, it's about 9 years later, he's very successful. He's supplying McCain's with potatoes. So he's become one of the key suppliers for them, so that's a very good success story right there. And he's still going strong, and he's still marketing his business. And, he's bought a few different things, and he's planting on a monthly basis, So that's just one of the success stories.
That's amazing. And what does it mean to you, Zen, when you see farmers, someone coming out of the program and being able to succeed in their space or whatever form of farming that they're going into? What does that mean for you?
So for me, it's one of the most fulfilling things that you can actually experience in life. So that you've seen that person grow, and being a farmer yourself, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to have patience, and then you learn about the rain, and then it's this, and then it's that. And if you see somebody like that succeed, and from where they came and from what they've done, and to know that you had a small impact in their life, that for me is the most fulfilling thing that you could probably ever have. Also, it's very, very nice to see. Yeah.
You are truly a farmer mentor. I don't think we've ever had a story like this. Food from Zanzi has definitely never had a story or heard a story like this. So of course, because it's a non-profit organization, then you do rely on external funding and support, etc. What does that look like? I suppose maybe talk us through that and how you're able to essentially run agricultural projects across the country and equip people at the same time. It's something that you're not doing alone. So what does the support look like for Manger Care Centre?
Within an organization, it's always good. You want to be as self-sustainable as possible. So all of the money that we obviously generate from our projects gets reinvested into the organization. But we rely on donor sponsorships as well as then raising our own funding and generating our own funding. And I think a lot of organizations in South Africa, needs to move to some sort of funding generating model to be self-sustaining. If we also look at the need for organizations in South Africa, there's so many different organizations popping up. There's about 280,000 to 300,000 organizations in South Africa. So you need to look at diversifying your income. And, from that, what we've done as an organization was exactly that. So we decided, let's push hard on the agricultural side. Again, we started small and we've built our track record when it came to that and to look at diversifying it, so that's why we build and we manufacture and we install greenhouses. So different size greenhouses, so 4 meters, 6 meters, 10 meter wide greenhouses by different lengths. We also then do the shade net structures, which we also do begins, and then the seedling production from that as well. We do vegetable seedlings. So our current production is about 2.2 million seedlings every 6 weeks. And then again, the training aspect is an additional income generating project to that as well. But we try to do as much as possible for the beneficiaries that we've got within our organization first. And then the external component is to do that for companies and to do that for farmers and to give those same services to somebody. It doesn't matter where they are within the country or, externally out of the country. And again, it's to become self-sustainable and work towards that. So I think our income generated to the farming side is also, it's a few million rand that we also do with pertaining to that. And again, it's to look at it and to actually grow and to capitalize on that. And in the same aspect, also look at rebuilding communities and assisting people and growing the network of farmers that we've got inside South Africa. So those are all of the things that we're basically looking at doing, and just that diversification.
I also really like that you said part of the sustainability is growing a network of farmers. I think that is so crucial, important when it comes to farming, to have that network. Farming in itself comes with challenges. I suspect it's no different to actually running a whole organization where it's, you are mentoring many farmers. What has been the biggest challenge that you've experienced to date, and how have you been able to navigate it?
So I think the biggest challenge is always funding. There's never enough money to do everything that you want to do. That's also one of the struggles that most of the farmers are dealing with in South Africa. So, and it's an ongoing challenge. But what we always say to farmers is, you have to start somewhere. I've got a small little garden and you're selling your crops, start somewhere, but don't just sit and wait for things to happen and, the government isn't doing this or the government isn't doing that. It's pick up that rake, pick up that fork, start tilling the soil, start somewhere, put some crops in the ground and start planting. But the more you're planting, the more you are obviously going to be able to generate. And it's also, it just starts small. So I know funding will always be a challenge, I think, for any farm. Like, we've always got expenses, fertilizer always, the price goes up or down, transport goes up, the cost for production goes up. I think one of the biggest challenges that we're always facing, and it's just not having enough money, to achieve our goals and doing what we want to do and would like to do. And I think that's across the board for farmers.
Especially in the current climate, geopolitics, farming itself is requiring a lot of inputs, money. And so I think a lot of farmers relate to that. Of course, in order to run an organization that is sustainable, as Manger Care Centre is, you have to be a very principled person. Like, there's no other way about it. Since I'm quite sure you are someone who has very strong principles and guiding system. What does that look like? How do you approach everything and not lose your mind, honestly? Because it's big work you're doing.
Some of my key principles is you've got to put in the work. There's no way around it. You need to get going and you need to do what needs to get done. So, wake up early, work late till you can, but also, balance your life out. For me, I always get focusing on 4 different aspects, focus on your physical fitness and your physical ability and your health. And then you also need to focus on your spiritual side of your body. How's your relationship with God or wherever you believe in? Then you also need to focus on your mental state and look at sort of keeping yourself happy in that aspect. And then the 4th one would then be obviously from your romantic side. Look at your relationships that you've got with people around you. And those are sort of the principles that I relate to is, to try and balance those out as much as possible, still putting in the extra work and still on top of that, trying to expand your organization and to actually grow your organization and to serve those that are in need. So those are sort of the principles that I work around. You need to work hard. To can't just sit around and wait for things to happen. You need to make things happen. You need to do that.
There's a saying that goes around in the industry that you can't be a farmer or be in agriculture and be an atheist, like it's impossible. It definitely does bring one to their knees, everything that comes with farming and being in agriculture. There's a legacy that comes with Manger Care Centre. As you've mentioned, your father is the one who founded the organization and you are continuing on that legacy and expanding it. What imprint do you hope to leave within the agricultural sector, the farmers that you work with, and maybe just generally?
It would be continuing with what I've done. And, if I can inspire somebody to do the same and, to assist and to help more people, that to me would be a legacy. So if I can train like that Immaculation, the farmer I was talking about in Twaitwa, that person is then going and helping 4, 5 or 6 or 10 other farmers, which is currently happening. That to me, that's a legacy itself. And for that work to continue and for their businesses to grow and, for that networking to become bigger. And afterwards, you've got a consortium of people working together for one common goal, which is to basically do food security for the rest of the country. But in the same breath, they also capacitating out each other and, working together with other people. So that to me is what a proper legacy looks like. So money comes, money goes, but, investing time in people that stays forever. Those things will last forever in that person's life. So if I can continue doing that and if those people can continue doing that, that legacy just grows.
I love that. As you said, when you invest in someone, it doesn't stop there. Like it continues forward flowing and that they're able to invest in someone else. And like you said, you've created it through the organization, have created employment opportunities. And those people who found employment are able to employ other people. And it resolves or alleviates a lot of challenges that we see in the country. And Zen, of course, as a mentor to a lot of the farmers, what advice would you give to someone listening who may be thinking of going into farming? Maybe some of the advice you give new farmers who join the organization or the programs. What is that something that is key and crucial for them to know?
One of the biggest aspects would be, what, before you even start, go sit and pray and learn patience. And then after that, to talk to as many farmers as you can, visit different sites, speak to farmers. A lot of farmers are there to share information. Some won't share information, but I'd say do as much research as possible. Look at the crops that you want to plant. A lot of the times, we see people are just planting without knowing what they want, that they don't have market for it. And then that's the first way how people, lose a lot of their business, and it makes people despondent. So look at talking to as many people as you can. Look at getting as much insight as what you can into the farming that you would like to do, and then capitalize on that and speak to everybody. Tie up your markets before you actually start plants. Very difficult because people generally want to see a sample before you want to go sell your product. They want to see a sample. So speak to as many different people as you can. Do your proper soil analysis on your farm. Look at your soil composition. Look at the different farming methodologies that you're going to be applying and how you're going to apply it. Other aspects is it's a volumes game. So you need to plant in volume if you want to be successful and make money, or you need to have a niche product. So you really need to look at that as an emerging farmer. And again, I think it just comes down to do as much research as what you can for the type of crop that you want to plant.
You summed it up quite well, how you equip the farmers who do come through into the program as well. through that answer. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to add, Zen, that you'd like to say that maybe we haven't touched on in the conversation that we've had so far. That is there any message you'd like to share?
Thank you very much to all of the people that has also supported our cause over the last few years, and also been able to share that impact with us that we've had on the different communities and with people that we've been able to work with. And from our side as well, we also look at doing turnkey projects and assisting farmers throughout that whole process as well. So if a farmer isn't sure and they would like us to assist them as well, we could look at that mentorship and actually assisting those farmers, from the start to finish. And again, some stuff you can't Google, it comes from practical experience. So, again, look at assisting those people with some of the things from there. But other than that, we really love the Food Forums and everything that you guys are doing with all of your different projects and your media that you guys are pushing out. That's very cool. And please continue to do that. And thank you very much for everything that you guys are doing for the industry, for the farmers within South Africa. It's really something that is highly, highly needed. So thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of Food Forums and Zen, thank you so much. And all of us, we are inspired by people like yourself, by the farmers, and we do what we do because of you and farmers, people who are putting into the land and ensuring that we do have food and eats. For those listening, if they're interested in supporting or if they would like to refer, how can they contact a Manger Care Centre?
You can basically contact us through Facebook, Instagram, our websites, WhatsApp. So we integrated with all of those. So you're more than welcome. Send us a WhatsApp and we can start the conversation from there. Email, etc. So please share our content on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's always inspiring also to hear different stories and to see people also what they are doing currently as well. So drop a WhatsApp, say, this is my business plan. This is what we are doing. Here's some photos of my site. And again, we can look at, networking with those people and maybe they don't have a market and we can maybe tie them up with somebody else or vice versa. So yeah, those are our ways of communication for us. So more than welcome to make use of it.
Thank you so much to Zen Teitge for joining us on today's episode. And if you'd like to read more about this story, you can definitely visit www.foodforumzansi.co.za. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. That's all from myself, Patricia Tembo, our technical producer, Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food Forums Zanzi. Thank you for listening and keep growing with us.